Hey Kyle, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I am really excited. I know we've been in touch for a little while, so I'm finally glad we were able to kind of like make this happen. And what better time than the 20th anniversary of The Room? So again, thank you so much.
Sure.
Tell me how for people that are maybe not diehard fans of The Room, how did you first come to be in this project?
Well, like many projects in Los Angeles, you see breakdowns for them listed, and then you submit your headshots and resume, and then you go and audition. So that's what I did. It was a listing in Backstage West, and so I submitted my headshot and went in and auditioned. It was I want to say the second project that I booked out here in LA.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now it's funny because I was rereading The Disaster Artist, which I think is such a great book.
it's a great
And
book.
yeah, I was watching the movie, of course, that it's based on, and of course, we'll get more into that a little bit later. But when you mentioned the audition process and kind of how it's depicted in that movie, it was kind of crazy. How was your experience like with that?
Well, at the time, I didn't have a lot of experience as to what the actual auditioning process was for film work out here. So I didn't know it was crazy at the time. But looking back on it after doing many, many more auditions since then, yeah, it was really kind of a weird process, sort of a mashup of like theater audition and wanting to be a film audition. Yeah, it was very unusual.
Of course you read the book and you're in the book, and would you say that's pretty accurate to like your experience?
Well, the book, when Greg was writing the book, he was asking us about our memories of what happened because at that point it had been about 10 years. And of course, things fade. So we were all talking with Greg, trying to remember things and what order it came in, what the details were. So Queen came out pretty accurate. I think Greg had to move a few things around in timeline, but nothing big, just to make it flow a little better. But mostly the book is pretty close to most of the stuff that happened. There might have been some small things that didn't make it in, but otherwise the important parts definitely were included in there.
Nice. And so you're in some pretty infamous scenes, of course, like the tuxedo football match or whatever that was
Yep.
happening. So I read that you did that falling take like quite a few times, right?
We did have to do that take a few times. Yeah. I don't remember counting how many, but it was a lot. It was getting to the point where I was like, I don't want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
It wasn't really scripted. That wasn't what was in the original scene. It was something they just wanted to do. And then they were trying to do it as a bigger fall, but we didn't have the equipment there for that. So I was like, no, let's just do it this way. And so it came out like it did.
Hmm. I have to say the whole movie's just like a stream of consciousness kind of strung together, but I love it. I mean, it's of course it has such a huge cult following. And then of course, it's the Jeep, 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 Jeep.
Yeah. Actually, now that I
Um,
remember it, that fall was scripted. It was my brain glitching out. But yes, there's
okay.
the cheaps were in there, all kinds of fun, weird things that we don't know why, but that's the way it is, and it seems that everybody loves those. So
Yeah. So now what was we've of course heard a lot of accounts from different people, but from your own perspective, like what was Tommy like as a director? Like how was he to work with?
he was raw. He was obviously his early attempt at doing this. It wasn't like he had directed multiple features beforehand. It was his freshman project. But he was he was good enough. I mean, we did what we did, and we gave him what he wanted. So you got what you see on the screen.
Yeah, I take it. I thought I read that you actually kind of had to leave because like the shoot took a little longer than what they had kind of originally planned for you, right?
Yeah, the original schedule wasn't matched. We ended up, because of various reasons that are in the book, recasting and reshooting and doing all these things that made all kinds of weird stuff, changing the crew multiple times. Um, that pushed the shoot dates back, especially when we had to reshoot a bunch of scenes. that the time I had available just got used up, and I had another project I had to go to. So it was one of those, well, this is the amount of time that I have, and that's all the time I can give you.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. Now, what was your thoughts on the Disaster Artist as the film?
I mean, it's a good film. It tells a story. It's not what happened, but it doesn't always translate that way anyway. It's really hard to make a book that big into a 1.5 hour story. And even then, what's in a book isn't necessarily what's going to make a good visual medium. So they had to make changes and make the story that they wanted to tell. And the story they wanted to tell was about the friendship of this guy meeting this strange person who wanted to put a movie together, and their friendship as a result, and what went through to make this completely outrageous project. So I think they carried that story through, that it was these two working through this, fighting against the system because no one would ever let them do it otherwise. And I mean, that's what most filmmakers, when they're starting out, have to do. Is the system's not just going to say, okay, here's $300 million, let's go make a movie. It's no, you've got to do it when they're telling you, no, no, you can't. And so he did. I mean, how many people have a movie that they want to get made that still haven't made it?
Yeah, or I mean, like I get like solicitation for screeners of movies I had never heard of, probably nobody else will ever hear of, and
Sure.
that's not being shady or anything. It's just,
Oh
even,
no.
even if against all odds you make the film, whether it's going to have an impact on, popular culture,
Yep.
uh, that's
I mean, I've done a number of movies that no one will ever probably see or hear again unless they go out of their way. And even then, I'm not sure some of them are available anymore. So projects that get made don't always last. And the fact that this has lasted, not just lasted, but it's in the theaters for 20 years is crazy. Hardly anything ever does that. I can only think of 3 or 4 movies that have ever had that kind of playing power in movie theaters.
Do you go to screenings?
Once in a while, I'll go when I have friends or people who told me that they want to see it with me. I'll go with them so they get the experience, because I think that the most fun is the fans, the audience participation stuff. That's
Yeah.
what draws you into it. Otherwise, you're sitting there watching something and you're either a film buff and you're analyzing what's going on here, or if you're not a film buff, you're just confused. So
Yeah.
seeing it with people who make it fun helps everybody kind of buy into it.
Yeah. I kind of love how there's like backstory to these characters that fans have kind of filled in over the years.
Sure.
Um I love
I've
that.
made up my own from time to
Yeah.
time too.
I was
So
gonna say, do
yeah,
you mind recounting some of you had a really cool backstory that I read that you came up with for your character.
I make up all kinds of ones. Which one are you thinking of?
Oh, if I'm remembering this correctly, there was a reason why you're not at the party, and the cops get there so quickly after Johnny. Uh,
Oh, yeah, that one. Um, I was saying that because Chris R just kind of disappears much too quickly, that maybe Mark and Johnny like took him down the alley and killed him and stuffed him in a barrel, and that's why they still have the gun, because why would the police not take the gun if they turned him into the cops? And
mm,
Peter has been taken to the police station for questioning about where this person, what happened to this person. And so while I'm in questioning, I'm giving all these crazy professional opinions of these people at this house. It's like, well, this person has got this stuff going on and she's doing all these terrible things, and this other person does this crazy stuff, and then there's this other person. And I figured he would just at that point given them enough information that the police were already on their way to the house to arrest them for the disappearance of Chris R. And that's why they got there within seconds.
I love that, and I think I remember. I'm not sure to whom to credit, but someone came up with a really cool backstory for Mark, where he was actually an undercover agent or in law enforcement.
That's
Um,
Greg. Greg came up with that theory.
oh, okay.
Greg was the one who said, I'm thinking Mark is an undercover narc, and I'm sitting around all the time because I'm tracking Chris R and I'm trying to bust him. And And I was like, oh, that's another way to take it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's interesting because like there is that scene where he like takes him down and he does it very professionally. I think he's like all clear. He's like, has some of the I don't know. I think that's a fun because you can maybe take what's maybe not necessarily on the page and make it a little
Sure.
more interesting. Um, to pivot slightly back to the disaster artist of the film, what was it like seeing somebody play you and Nathan Fielder, of course, like playing you.
Well, I mean, obviously it's very surreal. Anytime anybody would see someone else playing them is always kind of odd. Uh, I can't think anybody who would feel comfortable or expect that to be a regular thing. It was even weirder in the fact that because of the way they had to make the story, he was doing things and saying things that I'd never done. Anything that wasn't a recreation for the movie wasn't anything that really happened with me. So, like the fact I find it funny the fact that he says hi and introduces himself to the Dan character at the premiere, and Dan and I had been talking since Dan's first day on set. We were like all the cast was kind of hanging out and talking to each other while we were on set. So it wasn't like that we were strangers. We knew each other quite well at that point.
Now, to prepare for his role to play you, essentially, did you meet Nathan? Did
Oh no,
they? No, okay.
no,
Um,
they didn't reach out to me. I mean, I had a strange encounter because of other work that I do with James Franco. I was working as his hand double in some commercial work because I do hand work, and uh, before the project had actually gotten greenlit or anything, they were talking about producing it. That was when I met James the first time, and we chatted a little bit about the environment. But that was most of the pre-shooting conversation that I had was just talking with him, and then a few calls now and again from Greg for questions about minor details. But other than that, no, there was no communication. Nathan didn't talk to me. He didn't ask any of my motivations or any of the ideas. So he just created that character out of the whole cloth.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I mean, it's kind of wild because, Nathan's kind of blown up now with, I know he had previously the Nathan for You, but I think like his new show kind of like exploded his career. So that's got to be even more like surreal. um,
It's almost as surreal as still being in Los Angeles and working and doing things of other people who are in the industry who recognize you from the movie. I have many friends who I've worked with on other projects who didn't know I was in the movie until years later. And then they would contact me out of the blue and why did you not tell me you were in this movie? I just finally saw it. Why didn't you mention it? And I was like, I mean, it wasn't important. But congratulations on seeing it finally.
Now, to that end, have you ever been out just minding your own business and someone will like shout a line?
It is a lot more in the early days of the fandom. A little bit more when the Disaster Artist was out. I got recognized a little bit. It wasn't so much like the shouting, but early fans especially were very vocal in their appreciation, and they still get a little bit of that when I go to conventions and seeing people there,
Nice.
obviously. But there, it's a little bit expected.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like when you're at a convention, yeah, that's like totally kind of normal. I just kind of picture someday maybe you're just walking your dog. I don't know if you have a dog, but you're just minding your own business. Someone's just going cheep, 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 cheep.
Oh,
Not
has
that I would
happened.
do that,
It
but
has happened, and I've had famous people who've seen me and done double takes and things like that.
nice.
So yeah, it's fun. No one's ever been. Well, I shouldn't say no one. Most people are very very nice, and they show that their appreciation and love for it. So
Nice.
it's nice.
Yeah, and that's nice that you don't have like like some weirdo like probably myself that would just be like I don't know, but no,
I think we've all had problems with people who've overstepped social norms, and we've had to take
ooh,
protections as a result.
yeah, and that's and I make light, but that's definitely something that's kind of scary, and unfortunately, that comes. It shouldn't come with the territory, but it sadly
It
kind of
does.
does.
It does.
But on a lighter note, um, so what if they did a sequel? What if they wanted you to come back? Would that be something you'd be interested if Tommy was directing and like the whole crew, or what?
I don't see how they could really do a sequel. And I think doing a sequel would be a bad idea. The charm is the fact that it is this one
Hmm.
time thing. And I think if you go back to it, people are going to be expecting it to be played up and it won't have the spontaneity of the craziness.
Yeah.
I'm always willing to take a meeting. I'll meet up and talk to people, but
Um,
without details, I can't say for certain that I would do it, and it would have to be somewhat convincing because, like I said, I think it works best as a standalone project.
yeah, and I completely agree. I just reviewed all three of the Birdemic movies. I survived somehow, but
Okay.
um, that was my big thing. Was like the first film was so special, and I think like the sequels tried to kind of replicate that, and it's like exactly what you're saying is like you don't have that kind of magic of this just accidentally just kind of being the best kind of worst movie.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. As a Room fan, I'm always like, I want more content, but I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, it's one of those things that you don't kind of want to diminish how special the first kind of, I mean, the first and only film is. So,
Well, that's the paradox of the unexpected gem. When you find something, it's usually the bigger and most attractive thing that gets your attention initially. And when you keep looking and keep looking, they're not quite as good because you had to go look for it a little bit more. And as a result, it doesn't fulfill that need again. And so redoing these classics with sequels, it just seems like you're like, oh yeah, this is not quite as good because I was looking for that and it still wasn't as big as the original because it's too much like what we saw before.
yeah. Now, conversely, would you not necessarily on a sequel, but something else with Tommy Wiseau? Would that be something you'd be interested in, or is like one go around good for you?
Like I said, I'm always willing to take a meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I admit that I know he did like a show or something. I didn't see that yet,
There
but
was the neighbors that he tried to do.
hmm.
Um, and then his newest one, I think he's screening currently in small venues
Oh yeah.
called
Gosh,
Big Shark.
right. Which I mean, I will say, like, of course, I mean, I love movies. I'm a bad movie aficionado.
Sure.
Um, I think I don't know, like some of my favorite movies are just bad, good movies. Like Troll 2,
Yeah,
mwah, Chef's Kiss.
I'm familiar with that one. Um, well, if you like bad movies, there was somebody who just announced their kids' book yesterday during the 20th anniversary. It's called B is for B movies. It's
Mm,
an ABC book, and he touches on all
nice.
these B movies that and he goes through the alphabet to teach it.
That's
His name is Matt Hebb, I believe, Hebb,
mm,
but he's an illustrator and he's premiering it at Comic-Con this year. So
oh
it will
nice.
be available later as well, I'm sure. If you're looking to get a good fix for your bad B movies,
Yeah.
it covers
Yeah.
quite a lot of them.
No, that's amazing. Did you post about that? I feel like I've heard about that pretty recently.
I
Uh,
posted about it yesterday when it came to my attention and
okay.
was sharing that on socials.
Was that San Diego Comic Con?
It is San Diego Comic-Con 2023.
Nice. Well, I will link in the description where you can check that out.
Yep.
Hopefully, there's probably where you can pre-order it. I love plugging stuff like that. That's amazing. Like I'm an author. Like I've written about fun bad movies. It's always really fun to like. I mean, revel in our love for movies, but also like, when I was not, I'm not to go on about myself, but like when I was
Go for
writing
it.
a film guide, I was like, I love sharing like movie opinions. I'm the movie person, so everyone's like, "What's your favorite movie? What should I be watching?" So I was like,
That's
"Well,
not an answer that you can give.
right, right." and I always kind of have like the cop out of like, well, it depends on my mood, right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's like you can't say that anything is your favorite because it all depends upon your condition at the time, your emotional, and what you've seen recently. It's what it's there are some that obviously you'll go back to repeatedly. You're
Yeah,
some that you
and
enjoy.
I'm probably like you. I kind of have phases where I'm like, okay, right now I'm really into like disaster movies.
Sure.
Next month I might be into kung fu movies. I mean, just I don't
Yeah,
know. Like I don't like to limit myself of like what I enjoy, whether it be books, whether it be music, whether it be movies. Like,
sure.
um, so yeah. Sorry, weird tangent, but
That's okay. Speaking of weird tangents, if you are liking those kinds of books, if you're familiar with the first room fan, or the person who's supposedly the first room fan, he's a friend of ours. Uh, he has a book that he's working on about cult movies, what makes a movie a cult movie. Um, it's probably still coming out. It's Michael Rousselet.
okay.
I don't see that he's got the information out yet, but Michael Rousselet is the one who all you fans should definitely buy anything he has, because he and his friends, some of our other friends, Scott Gardner and others, they really drove the point home to the theaters here in LA that they wanted to see more of this movie. They wanted to see it over and over again. And that's what started the midnight screenings. And that's what made it go and become available for all of the fans, the roomies, to go out there and find it and enjoy this craziness that it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know Michael. Now it rings a bell. I started chatting with him because he did one of my all-time favorite movies of late, Dude Bro Party Massacre 3. I
Dude
love
Party Massacre 3 is amazing.
yes. Yeah,
And
Michael,
they're
huh.
doing screenings coming up in August.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, send me if you have any info on that. I'll link in the description where you call you. Oh my gosh, I can talk. Where y'all can check out the screenings of that. Oh my gosh, I love that movie so much. It's a lot of
I'll check with them to see if I can find it. The screenings, I'm sure, are going to be in at least 3 or 4 cities. I'm not sure how many, but as far as the book, I think it's still being worked on.
okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, Michael's a great guy. As soon as you said his name, it like kind of like it clicked a few gears. Like I'm
Sure.
this is one of those days where I'm like, okay,
Lots
uh
of fun things.
but yeah, no, Michael's awesome. He's very cool. I never met him. We've just talked online. But yeah, Dude Bird Party Massacre 3. Oh my gosh. I love it so much.
It's a great deconstruction of the 80s slasher movies,
Yeah.
especially the college sorority flat slasher movies that you saw all the time, like Sorority Sleepover and all those crazy ones that they totally were exploitive. He decided to do a nice parody flip on it.
Yeah, and there's like so many people I feel like kind of attempt to, do a parody or a satire, deconstruction, whatever you want to call it. And it's not that like there isn't a lot that succeed, but it's so hard because you got to genuinely love something you're doing a parody of.
Yes.
And that's why I think like Michael and his crew, like it works so well because clearly they all have a huge love for these slasher movies, these
And films in general, they're
yeah,
very, very well versed in all forms of film. I'm trying to convince them to do a sequel to Dubro Party Massacre 6.
yeah,
Uh,
yes. Oh my gosh,
and he's like, yeah, we'll talk.
that would be amazing. I would fly myself out for free on my own dime just to get killed as an extra, whatever.
I did come up with a way to get some of the original cast into the Dubro Party Massacre 6. So if it does happen, there's a possibility you'll be able to see some of the originals as well as
My
you
God,
coming out to get killed.
that would be amazing. Well, I mean, it's out in the universe. Let's,
Nothing like social peer pressure.
well, that's I feel like that's the industry kind of thrives on that.
It
So
does. Any hype will help get something made. Let's put it out there.
yeah.
Um, and of course, you've got Robin's series, The Room Actors, Where Are They Now, which is the YouTube series.
Mhm.
The final 2 episodes should be coming out shortly. Uh, we shot those a while back, and she's been going through post, but I believe she plans on releasing them this year. If you're not familiar with that series, that's all of us except for Greg and Tommy getting together and making fun of ourselves as if we as real people were very similar to the characters from the movie and the stuff that happens.
That's
So
amazing. Now, I haven't kept up on this news, but long ago there was supposed to be that Room Full of Spoons documentary.
that
Um,
one I believe is still tied up currently with legal distribution issues.
yeah, I know, like, because I was like thinking I was gonna try to use some like clips and stuff in this interview, but then I was like, probably not, because yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, that's unfortunate because like it's depicted in the book and in the movie that I mean there was like I mean basically everything was documented. um
a lot of it was.
yeah.
There was a lot of behind the scenes stuff shot.
And I think maybe there was a little bit in like the Blu-ray or DVD, but really a lot of that footage kind of hasn't like surfaced, right? Is that
No, no, it hasn't. Um, I'm not sure who has. I think Greg may have had it for some time, but I'm not sure who has it anymore.
hmm. So it's safe to say y'all are in touch from the room except for Greg and Tommy. Is that right?
No, I talk to Greg from time to time. I
Okay.
was just chatting with him. He's got a new movie he's doing right now. I believe the fundraiser for it is tomorrow. Um,
Okay.
it's a sci-fi alien abduction movie, and of course he's had his previous one, um, which was sort of a thriller slasher movie. Um, but definitely check out Greg's stuff. He's got a bunch of projects he's going to be working on.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, if he would ever be down to talk and plug whatever, I'm always like I'm a workaholic, but I can always squeeze, anybody in.
Mm-hmm.
But so while we're wrapping up, we're plugging people's stuff. What can fans expect from you coming up?
Oh, well, I mean, I've been doing a lot actual play streaming stuff for Dungeons and Dragons for a few years. You
Oh,
can
nice.
catch me on Twitch from time to time, as well as some charity streams. I've also got a couple of projects that are in the works that I'm not allowed to talk about, and I've got a book that I've been a small kids book that I've been working on that may be coming out within the next year or so. Um, but those are the things that currently you can see. I did do a weird, crazy movie last summer. I had a small cameo in that hopefully will be wrapping up post production and be distributed soon. It made its world premiere. It's the last movie at Slam Dance this year,
Oh,
and
nice.
it got a good response. But it's one of those weird, crazy sort of out there movies. Think of it as if it was sort of like rock and roll high school meets punk band.
Okay, I
So
like
it's
that.
called Free LSD.
All right. I like that. No, that's amazing. Yeah, I will definitely like I said, y'all need to check out all these cool projects. I'll have all the links in the description. So yeah, just I really appreciate you taking the time. This is so cool to talk. I know, like I said, we've been connected on Facebook for a little while, so like to actually kind of get to um to talk and hear about your experience and just all these really amazing projects. That's so cool.
Yeah, the people from that project have made a lot of good efforts in creative world. I mean, you've got everybody from Robin through Greg. I mean, we've all gone ahead. Um, Philip, who played Denny, he's got a comic book about this life he had in Los Angeles and the big break that was him getting in the room called My Big Break. So, yeah, there's a lot of good creative projects that came out of this group of people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love how y'all are still like connected and it's like this cool shared experience. And, I know like maybe it wasn't always the most positive experience for some of y'all, but like it's cool that something really cool has come out of it. A lot of people have gotten a lot of joy from this movie.
Which we're all happy that people love it. They found what spoke to them about it, and that's what they've embraced, and we appreciate that.
Yeah. And it's such a fun. I mean, I kind of make it as like a weird. I make my husband watch it every Valentine's Day with me. So like
This is this is good. I've heard people who watch it much more. There are some fans who watched it every day for years in a row that
yeah,
I
that's
totally embrace that sort of crazy fan love.
oh yeah, that's I mean, I don't know if I've ever loved a movie that much, but that's I mean, my hat's off. That's so
Sure.
cool. So all right. Well, thank you again so much. Really appreciate your time.
Mhm.
And like I said, everything we kind of talked about project wise, I will make sure to get all that in the description.
Cool. Well, have fun, everybody.